Hi, this is Michael. Welcome to week 2. Just to let you know that every week as an announcement, I plan to film a video like this just to help wrap up some of the things that we've been discussing over the week, as well as give you a primer for what's due or what's coming up this week. So this week's goal is to find some content. Uh, Content is a pretty vague word, and it's vague on purpose, and it's even more vague that I used to use the term data, but really the idea is to have something to work with that we will arrange, organize, learn how to manipulate. And that's the goal for this week and the project that is due next week. The next week's project is to just tell me what that data set is, but this week we're really going to talk about it quite a bit and get more information about how the content is organized on the web in particular. So if you go through the readings here, there's a attempt of mine to just really tell you why I think this is important, why is it interesting, what do you have to look out for to start the journey of making some kind of, again, let's just call it content stuff out there that might or might not be interesting, and organizing it to make it interesting, useful, turn it into information, knowledge, wisdom, etc. So we're starting at the bottom. And then there's just some technical ideas here about, if you're not really used to how the web is able to take dynamic information, that's really an exploration for this week as well. There's some more detailed work about data types, which I think are important. They might be a bit more explanatory as we try some things out in Mural. And even this, there's also some tutorials about creating forms. This is also for the assignment next week. I think I might have an alternative to this if I can go to. So this is Airtable. Airtable is something that you do need to create an account on. It should be free. If anyone has any difficulty with creating a free account or using Airtable at all, let me know. But it's one of those great, let's take something that everybody needs, make it really easy to use and fun. So what's great about it is that it does start out with some sample content. And some of these are shown here. The goal this week is to maybe pick out and to understand the content pieces that go into one of these. So for example, if you are looking at a position or an applicant for a job, they might have a name, they might be applying for something, there might be metadata about what decisions needed, etc. The idea is to go through some of these and find a data set, and this is really a data set, this is one record in this data set, that you think is interesting. And we can manipulate it from then, we can do a lot with it, but it gives you a starting point in a way that might be good for, let's say, people that are not really terribly familiar with working with content. Now, that being said, there's also the ability to go to a site, as in my example. I talk a lot about perfume. So here's a website, and I use a particular program to be able to scrape this data, and that's also called import.io. And there's some instructions on how to use that. So I'm just saying, I'm really interested in perfuming supplies, but I really dislike the organization of this site. And so I want to take this information here and try to organize it better so that I can understand a bit more about how these ingredients put together make a particular smell or a combination that I'm interested in making. So again, very esoteric. You probably don't care particularly about this journey, but it just means that if you go out, if there's anything on the web that you find particularly interesting, I know a lot of people gravitate toward movies, books, etc. Well, at least you could take a data set from one of those services and take a look at what it's composed of. What are its components? So usually there's some pieces that are more important than others, but that's what we'll get into next week, is how to understand like what's important, what's pivotal to a user experience or to understanding the content, and what is not. So, and if you go to the second mural, you'll see some ideas here. One is that trying to explain a bit about Twitter. And if you never knew, if you thought just the tweets themselves, in which the tweets themselves do contain a lot of information, but there's a lot of extra information. So really, if you think about it, it's all this extra information that we're trying to discover, look at this week, puzzle over, figure out, what is all this used for. But one of the activities here is to query Twitter by using some of these different fields and making something of interest. So that word of interest is important to me this week. I think you'll be able to find something fairly quickly that will satisfy the course, but working with a data or a content set of information over the next 9 weeks, I want you to sort of be interested in it, something interesting to you. So that might explore, we can explore that together, try to understand what's interesting, make it more interesting, something like that. But we don't want you, I don't want to give you a data set because I don't want you to be forced into something you might not like. There's some tools here that can be used, Airtable, etc. And then we talk about data types in the sense like if you were going to talk about data on your computer, like what's the information, how is it broken out into different fields that you can say sort by date. Date's an interesting, date created, date last opened, things like that. So we're just exploring these together to find and get to understand those data types, and then any questions about the assignment. So we're going to try to get through this week, find a data set, be all ready to turn that in next week as we move on. So this is the first exploration. Please contact me and discuss things in Mural and elsewhere as we move forward in this second week. Thanks.